New reports came out recently that the CDC failed coronavirus tests were actually tainted with coronavirus, feds confirm. A federal investigation found CDC researchers not following protocol. Yikes. As the new coronavirus took root across America, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention sent states tainted test kits in early February that were themselves seeded with the virus, federal officials have confirmed. The CDC has been vague about what went wrong with the tests. Now, according to investigation results reported by the New York Times, federal officials confirm that sloppy laboratory practices at 2 of the 3 CDC labs involved in the test creation led to the contamination of the tests and their uninterpretable results. Interesting. If they could have sloppy labs, could anybody else have sloppy labs? Well, I'm not going to answer that question because if you ask the wrong question about a sloppy lab, they might slap a phony fact checker on my video that leads you to some article that doesn't even know the facts. Anyway,
I told y'all for years, celebrities are fake.
It's interesting to see how much the CDC does. At one point, they were studying dads of different races, seemingly fighting the conservative narrative about fathers absent in the households. The New York Times says, yes, more than half of black households are headed by women, but the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reports that whether or not they live under the same roof, black dads are actually more involved with their children than their white and Latino counterparts, spending more time feeding, dressing, playing with, and reading to their children. It's a stunning report, but I'm not sure what it has to do with disease and prevention. And considering when push came to shove with this pandemic and preventing and controlling a disease, their tests were tainted with coronavirus itself. What's even more shocking than the fact that they're also studying gun control research is the fact that not just Democrats, but also Republicans, including President Trump, signed off on this horrific $1 trillion package in December, funding them to do that.
It funds government research on gun control. That's right, that's part of this deal, is let's now have the federal government doing research on gun control. Can't you wait from the report from the Center for Disease Control? Mind you, last I checked, exercising your Second Amendment rights is not a virus that the Center for Disease Control should be studying, but now we've got millions of dollars funding bogus studies that are going to be used to try to take away your constitutional rights.
Ted Cruz, myself, and Tucker Carlson were among the only few who tried to sound the alarm to Republicans and conservatives that this bill was terrible and it wasn't just Democrats' fault.
There are a lot of things that we shouldn't have had in this bill, but we were, in a sense, forced. If we want to build our military, we were forced to have. There are some things that we should have in the bill. But I say to Congress, I will never sign another bill like this again. I'm not going to do it again.
But like usual, people are too busy playing sports team politics. My team's the best, my team's the best, we're gonna win. To realize when it comes to war, trillions of dollars worth of spending, and apparently taking your freedoms during a pandemic, the donkey and the elephant really aren't that different. What's even crazier, recently the United Nations came out and warned of a biblical famine due to COVID-19 pandemic. This should quash the "you only care about the economy, all you care about is money" narrative that a lot of Democrats and even people of this ilk usually like to push, but that's never been the case. Tens of millions of people losing their job, businesses going under, oil tanking, multiple industries just getting destroyed. This is not a small thing. This is going to affect millions upon millions of lives, not even counting the health aspect of it, of what happens when you're stuck inside all the time and you can't even go get sunshine at the park. But it seems like a lot of the same people that told us you're so selfish for talking about the economy are now warning of a biblical famine. Let's read on. The head of the UN Food Agency warned Tuesday that as the world is dealing with the coronavirus pandemic, it is also on the brink of a hunger pandemic that could lead to multiple famines of biblical proportions within a few months if immediate action isn't taken. Beasley said, today 821 million people go to bed hungry every night all over the world. A further 135 million people are facing crisis levels of hunger or worse as a result of COVID-19. Well, there goes the "you only care about the economy" narrative, but I'm sure these people will keep lying and misframing the situation. But this is the United Nations, in which the World Health Organization is an agency of, telling you what millions of people across the world have been trying to say for months now. It is kind of weird that conservatives always say, communism killed killed almost 90 million people. Communism kills so many people. Until their country adopts communist-style leadership for this pandemic. But then they say, oh no, don't question it. You don't care about people and old people and immune compromised. Crazy how that changes in just a few months. But most people are really waking up. Also important, recently came out, new data shows first U.S. coronavirus death earlier than thought. Santa Clara County Public Health in California announced Tuesday that autopsy results found a patient who died on February 6 had the novel coronavirus. Why it matters? The first known death from COVID-19 in the U.S. was declared on February 29th to be a patient in Washington State. I've talked to a lot of doctors, nurses, and also people who told me I've had it in October, I had it in November, I know somebody who had it in December, they had all the symptoms, all the problems, they came up negative for the flu. So this is great that they're finding out that it was here before Washington, but eventually the scientists and experts have to really deep dive and figure out what a lot of people are suspecting, that it was actually here for months. And why that matters is the social distancing theory is based off of the fact that we could slow the spread. You could slow a spread of the flu if you get it right at the beginning, but if you get it months after it's already here and you're spreading it throughout Christmas time and such, you can't really slow it. They said they were going to not overwhelm the hospitals, and paradoxically, they actually literally overwhelmed the hospitals all across the country. They didn't have to do that. That was a poor strategy. They could have focused on the hot spots and let everybody else do elective surgeries, but they didn't do that. They failed us. And more people need to start speaking out, whether you support the president or whether you don't like him. It doesn't matter. And this has gone far beyond social distancing. In Australia, they're doing some sort of drone police situation because people are sitting on the roof. What's the difference between sitting on your roof or sitting inside with the same people you're around anyway? You can't get sunlight or a breath of fresh air? What's going on in America when you're arrested for playing with your kids at a playground?
Being arrested, this mother. You gotta be kidding me. Why? Wait. Wait, where are your kids?
As a person, does this make sense to you?
And I don't care if you support the president or not. I'm tired of hearing from his supporters or people that don't like him at all. You can't talk about this. Trump has everything under control. Or you have to listen to the experts. Millions of people are going to die. Well, those same experts that say that are also saying hundreds of millions of people are going to die if we don't fix the food supply chain. And that's not just the food chain, it's also the hospital industry. It's also nearly every industry in the entire country and all around the world. You don't think that's going to have an effect on millions of lives? And I'm not just talking about financial. So I'll keep doing my job if you keep doing yours. Don't be a sheep and a lemming, regardless of who you support politically. Keep asking questions, keep thinking critically, and most importantly, have a beautiful day and don't buy into the fear and paranoia. We don't do that here. Stay optimistic, skepticism without pessimism, and raining down truth in a sea of lies. Have a good day.